Even though you hear all the time that the video game industry is as healthy as ever, far too often do we see news of studios shutting down or studios laying off most of their staff, and that's exactly what happened today as Telltale Games, the makers of the Walking Dead series, laid off more than 90% of their staff in a move that shocked everybody in the video game industry. What exactly happened to the studio to end up in this spot? And can someone like Microsoft or PlayStation swoop in at the last minute to save the studio? We're going to talk about all that and more right now. What is going on, guys? Randall419, the man with the million, back again with another video. Hope everybody is having a great day. But it is a sad day, unfortunately, as over 220 people have lost their jobs at Telltale Games. So the situation kind of happened earlier, a couple hours ago on Twitter. Gamasutra reported that the Telltale Games was shutting down, and I sat there in disbelief. No way was Telltale Games shutting down. They had just signed a deal with Netflix to do a Stranger Things game. They were working on Wolf Among Us Season 2. They were currently making The Walking Dead final season. That must be a, wrong report. And sure enough, it was, although not really, as the real information came out. I'm here on TheVerge.com, which I'll have linked in the description. The studio isn't shut down. They just laid off over 90% of their staff, and they only have 25 people remaining to finish off this final season. All future projects have been canceled, like the Stranger Things and Wolf Among Us. Essentially, the studio will more than likely close as soon as The Walking Dead is finished. And it's such a sad day because I am a huge fan of the studio. I love most of the games they have worked on. And far too often does this happen. Just earlier this week, we saw news that Capcom was shutting down Capcom Vancouver, and over 200 people are out of work. Now another 200 plus people are out of work here from Telltale Games, and hopefully they all land on their feet. I've seen people from Sony, Microsoft, Blizzard, and everywhere in the video game industry come together to, say, hey, we're hiring. If you're affected, apply over here and we'll get you situated. But how did it come to this? This was a studio that was working on so many games, working on big IPs like The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things. They were working with Warner Brothers on the Batman game. They were working with Marvel on Guardians of the Galaxy. What happened? Did they overextend themselves after the success of The Walking Dead? Did they hire too many people? Did they take on too many projects? I'm kind of interested to find out, which I'm sure we will in some, journalistic reporting eventually down the road, maybe from Jason Schreier from Kotaku or somewhere else, about what exactly was going on at this Walking Dead studio, Telltale Games, that caused this. You would think their games were very successful. Were they paying too much for the IP licenses? Was it upper management issues? Were things not managed properly? I'm just confused here. I thought the studio was in good shape. I thought their games were selling incredibly well. You never really hear that or heard that Telltale was in any sort of trouble. I mean, there was talks that, yes, Tales from the Borderland didn't sell very well, but Walking Dead did. Minecraft was a big hit from them. Batman was good as well. So it just came as a surprise to everybody in the industry that Telltale Games laying off over 200 people. The Capcom Vancouver stuff, if you remember earlier in the week, nobody was really surprised. People are, of course, sad that everybody's losing their job, but there was a sense that everybody, you knew it was coming. With this, people were literally shocked, and so was I. And of course, when all this happens, everybody kind of asks their favorite company to come in and save them. I've seen calls for PlayStation to come in and, take care of the studio so they can have their own, exclusive games going forward. I've seen people come in and say, Microsoft, this is a perfect studio for you to buy for, Game Pass, which actually makes a lot of sense. Phil Spencer has talked about how Game Pass originally, could be started, and you could have this episodic game launching Game Pass, and then every couple months have the next episode go in there. And when that was originally announced last year, people were like, the perfect studio for that is Telltale Games. They make quality episodic content with well-known IPs. Unfortunately, even though I think it does make a lot of sense, there isn't a studio left. As much as I would love for PlayStation to come in and pick up the studio and save them, or as much as I would love Xbox to come in and pick them up so they can make games for Game Pass in an episodic format and save the studio, there's no studio left to save. That's what I keep on seeing on Twitter from everybody. It's like, come in and save the studio, THQ Nordic, buy up the IPs, but Telltale didn't have their own IPs. They were all licensed out. There's really nothing to buy. And they only have 25 employees left. So at this point, if you're buying the studio, you're more than likely just buying the name. There's no talent left at the studio. And in recent interviews with Matt Booty, who's the head of Microsoft's first-party studios, they talked about, buying mid-range studios that actually had creative vision and had the talent to see it through. The way Telltale Games is right now, there's no talent left. There's no creative vision. It's a studio that's a shell of itself. Now, maybe you could buy it and then rehire everybody that you laid off, but to me, it almost sounds like there was an acquisition or something was happening behind the scenes and talks broke off, potentially, and this is what you end up with. Maybe a different company was in talks about buying the studio, saving it from itself, saving it from its bad decision making. I mean, I've read some interesting things that the former CEO is suing the company, that there was some toxic workplace environment that they got in trouble from. And maybe the talks broke down, and because of that, the upper management realized they really don't have that much money left. There's no business plan. You have to get rid of everybody. So as much as I would love to see a company come in to save Telltale Games, I just don't think it's in the cards. I think somebody tried to buy them, potentially, and talks broke off, and that's why everybody got laid off. And I know people will continue to, at Phil Spencer, at Xbox, on Twitter and elsewhere on social media, because on the face value of it, yeah, this is a pretty damn good fit for Xbox Game Pass. But there's no studio left, guys. That's what we gotta kind of wrap your mind around here. There's 25 people left. It's a skeleton crew to finish this season, and then they are shut down. There's no more studio after that. And it's incredibly sad. They've made some of my favorite games, maybe not my favorite games of all time, but Walking Dead Season 1, that experience, maybe for the first time of playing that narrative-driven walking simulator game, as people call them now, it was so fresh, unique back in 2012. And we've had a bunch of studios spring up since then and copy Telltale Games. Some are even doing it better. You look at Detroit from Quantic Dream, they follow the Telltale formula, but they have a much better running engine. The games look incredibly nicer, and they're brand new IPs. That's kind of the one thing Telltale had going against it, was that everything they made was somebody else's property. So I don't know, man. It's a sad day in the video game industry. 1 week, 400 jobs lost out, and nobody's gonna save this studio. I mean, I would love to be wrong. I would love to be 100% wrong and see news that one of the big console manufacturers or perhaps a publisher out there comes in at the last minute and saves the whole situation, and we can continue to enjoy Telltale Games into the future. But that is not going to happen. In my opinion, or at least my prediction, there was something going on behind the scenes. Talks were going on, talks were being had. They fell apart. And because of that, Telltale had to lay off basically everybody. Sucks, but it is what it is. Xbox isn't going to buy them, PlayStation isn't going to buy them, and there's no IP for THQ Nordic to save. It is what it is. So let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it out on Twitter, hit that subscription icon. If you want to be subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell so you're always notified when I drop new content. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.